Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Jason Buckley. I lead the Mobility Solutions team in Vodafone UK, focused on our regional business. And I'm very privileged to have the next 10 to 15 minutes to talk to you about workforce mobilization, the linkage of that to the information of the Internet of Things, IoT, and I'll talk to you about some of the trends that we're seeing in the market today, some of the key considerations and opportunities that we see emerging. So, what is workforce automation? Well, for us, it's about digitally mobilizing a business. It's about digitizing frontline workflow and allowing people in an organization and organization's frontline workers to be as effective as they possibly can be. So in this session, I'm going to cover a number of things. I want to talk about the future of workforce mobility. I want to talk about some of the emerging trends, as I've already said, the opportunity that offers organizations to mobilize, but also some of the key building blocks and some of the key considerations if you or your organizations are looking at mobility projects. So some of you might be wondering why Vodafone are here at an event like this and talking about the subject of workforce mobility. Well, of course, workforce mobility is at our heart. We have a pedigree in mobile. We've been providing mobile networks and mobile technology for over 25 years now. But we've also actually had a specific workforce mobility practice for around about 15 years. And we've worked across a whole plethora of different market verticals and organizations. And we think we've made a pretty significant contribution to British industry in that respect. We believe we've ultimately, through the technology and the solutions we've delivered, delivered about £500 million of savings to British organisations. So hopefully that explains why we're here, why we're talking about this, and why we feel we're relatively well placed to talk about this subject. So workforce mobility was historically very much around field service. It was about enabling frontline engineers in organisations that had equipment or plant deployed at various locations, and engineers who would go out and service those, and typically service them either in a planned work manner or in a reactive break-fix manner. Actually, although that's still a very relevant market, workforce mobility is about a lot more than that today. It applies to pretty much any organisation in any marketplace that has workers who work remotely from the physical location of an organisation, away from their branch offices or their HQ. So we believe it's pretty much relevant to everyone. Every organisation looks a little bit different, but it applies pretty much across the board. We believe there are three types of worker within an organisation. Fixed, so people who pretty much go to the same location or a fixed office every day to do their work. They're flex workers, who are actually a bit of a hybrid, so they spend some time in a fixed location, but actually often working remotely or at different locations on a day-to-day basis. And true mobile workers who pretty much spend the majority of their life away from the organisation's bricks and mortar physical premises. So thinking about why would an organisation mobilise and what would the benefits be for them in doing that, there's been some research done by Frost and Sullivan, and they would suggest there are a whole plethora of different benefits, but three primary benefits. And those benefits are pretty significant and pretty compelling. So the first would be a significant reduction in labour costs. So they believe it's not untypical to derive up to a 27% saving in the cost of your frontline labour force. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean reducing your labour force, but as an organisation, you could potentially do more with the people that you do have. It's pretty tough, to find another form of initiative that within an organisation today where you could derive that kind of benefit. So we think that's pretty compelling. 32% reduction in paperwork. Over 60% of organisations today still run some of their frontline business processes on paper. Paper is incredibly inefficient. It's not just about the cost of the paper, it's about the cost of transacting that. And that cost is huge, and we've seen some really interesting examples of how organisations manage that paper workflow, including one organisation that shall remain nameless but employed 2 full-time ironing ladies who ironed delivery sheets when they got back to the central office location so that they could be scanned. Fortunately, they saw the opportunity to deploy a solution to that, and I think the ladies in question were redeployed to something slightly more productive. Also, the opportunity to drive customer engagement. There are very few organisations today, regardless of sector, public or private, that are not looking to increase the engagement with their customers. And again, that's a very challenging thing to achieve in today's market. But what we do know is if organisations can increase customer engagement, can drive higher levels of customer satisfaction, a satisfied customer is 6 times more likely to buy from you again than a dissatisfied customer. Again, that's pretty difficult to argue against. But we think that some of the benefits go a lot way beyond that, and actually some of them are even more compelling. Probably one of the biggest ones for us is, and that we've typically seen in every customer that's deployed this type of technology, is employee engagement. And this, when we go back and we talk to customers post-deployment, without exception, employee engagement has increased. What employee wouldn't be happy with, in terms of being armed with the right tools, the right information to do their job effectively, to do the job that they choose to do and they're quite passionate about. I don't think many people enjoy the overhead of admin and unnecessary travel and other activities that they don't really contribute to the task that they're there to deliver to the organisation they're employed by. So we think employee engagement is really, really important. And actually that's been reinforced by some research from Gallup. So Gallup did some research into employee engagement and the variation across organisations in terms of profitability, and they've been able to demonstrate a direct correlation between employee engagement and an organisation's profitability, which again is something that I think we'd agree without exception most organisations would like to achieve, right? So for us, we believe there's a whole plethora of different building blocks to a successful workforce mobility solution and a successful workforce mobility deployment. Clearly the application or the platform or platforms, because sometimes it's not just one platform that an organisation deploys to enable their frontline workflow and mobilise their frontline workers, are at the heart of everything, they're at the heart of the solution in question. But there are far more facets to that solution, and some of the key ones we believe are things like devices. So today there's a whole plethora of different devices out there in the marketplace, different operating systems, different device form factors, and organisations, people typically today don't care what device they're using, they just expect to be able to consume the information and complete the task that they need to complete, regardless of the device that they're actually using. And we often see organisations today, depending on worker type, and actually utilising a mixed base, a blended deployment of devices within their frontline workforce. So having a suitable range of devices is absolutely key. Clearly, if somebody is remote from an office, they need to be well connected. There's no point having a great back-end system if you can't connect to it. We know sometimes connectivity isn't available. Technology is built today to allow you to work offline, but for a worker to be offline for the entire day is clearly not practical. So mobile connectivity is key. Professional services. What is the art of the possible? If an organisation's core business is retail, why would they understand necessarily all of the technologies that could assist them, or how they could adopt technologies that have been used in other marketplaces to improve their own organisation? So the ability to garner insight and consultancy and support in building a business case and a return on investment for this type of investment is pretty key. Applications need hosting, pretty much goes without saying, but it's not just about the application, it's about the information that a remote user might want to gain access to. So frontline workers today see the information that an organization holds in its core as their corporate version of Netflix. They want to get access to it. They need to get access to it to be able to do their job effectively. So that needs to be suitably hosted and suitably connected. Device lifecycle management. When you put a device in the hands of end user, make sure they can use it. Make sure they're not spending 2 or 3 days configuring it and making it fit for use. Device management. If you're going to allow digital data, to leave the physical four walls of your organization, you need to be sure that that is secure for a whole host of reasons, particularly if it's personal data about your customers or clients. So security and management is key. Also, if you're going to effectively support your users in the field, you need to be able to remotely manage those devices. And finally, all of this is great, but organizations change and evolve. The marketplace they operate in changes over time, and a full lifecycle service management wrap is also pretty critical to not just the initial deployment of this type of technology, but also the ongoing support in life. I'm very conscious of time, and I just wanted to give you some idea of the diversity of organizations that are now deploying this type of technology. We've got examples of people like Nottingham County Council mobilising 300 frontline social workers. The impact that that's had on their productivity is huge. No longer do social workers go into the office every day to complete tasks online from a desktop in the office and return at the end of the day to update case notes, etc. They can do that on the go in the field. They can also make that time when they're sitting in court, waiting for court hearings, as productive as possible. And right through to people like retailers like Bright House, who are effectively supporting their omni-channel model through mobilising the frontline workers that they have in their organisations, ensuring that they've always got real-time information so that when they go to visit a customer at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they're aware that that customer's been into the store at 10 o'clock in the morning and the consequence of that visit to store. So they're giving their customers the best possible experience. Just some examples of mobile workers today, but pretty much anybody who works remotely from the organisation at some point during their working week and who needs to gain access to corporate systems and corporate information and push information back to the organisation today can be helped by this type of technology. And then just finally, some thoughts on if you are looking to embark on this type of project, what should you look for in a partner to deliver this type of solution? For us, I think we believe pedigree is important. You work with an organisation that can give you insight into how other organisations have used this technology to transform them. They may not even be in the same vertical, but the business issues and challenges may be common and consistent. The other is breadth of ecosystem. As we said, sometimes it's not just about a single platform solution. There are often multiple platforms required to deliver the customer's full requirement. So look for an organisation with breadth of partner ecosystem. And then finally, the ability to deliver. A lot of organizations try and embark on this and take a DIY approach. That's pretty challenging. This is complex stuff, often requiring integration into multiple back-end systems within an organization, and so on and so forth. So these are complex, multifaceted solutions. So look for partners who can ultimately help you deliver as many facets of that solution under one banner as possible. Are we out of time? We are, okay. So that concludes the presentation for today. I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for your time.